Well, yeah, that's why I really got into like the FRS system is because like it's based on scientific research and like it's explained really well and I've tested it. I've done it on myself before. I worked with other people with it
Yeah,
and so stuff like that. But like I said, I'm definitely looking to expand my horizons and be well-rounded.
always learning, right?
Oh,
Always
I will
learning.
never be done.
Multifaceted.
It's so stressful, but I just have to enjoy the moment. I always remind myself, like, just know where you are right now is further than you were before. And
Yeah.
you literally can't rush it if you want to be
No.
decent at what you do. So, yeah. So if anybody like cares to know, like, I know for me, like as a coach, like we still are very hard on ourselves
Yeah.
sometimes.
I question myself every day, maybe every other day as well. Sometimes I'm like, what am I doing?
Yes, well, it makes me feel good because it looks like you know all this stuff. So I mean, you wouldn't be a good coach if you didn't question yourself sometimes.
Yeah. Self-check yourself, right? Self-fact check and self-check yourself.
Yeah.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Or somebody else.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, that's awesome. So like, how did you get started in weightlifting?
And weightlifting. So, I mean, I pretty much what it was is I wanted to. So I kind of got into like strength conditioning and sports performance just because like at one point I was an athlete, and unfortunately back when I was an athlete, we didn't really have access to the kind of things that most like younger athletes have today. So I wanted to kind of learn as like, man, all right, well maybe I wasn't really able to be helped with my athletic career as far as like performance and just overall athletic development, just because that wasn't really available to me just because of living between two cornfields in the middle of Indiana, right? So I wanted to learn a way to help other younger athletes become better athletes. And then I always found the human body to be pretty exciting on how like it changes and adapts. And so like I got into that kind of stuff. And that actually what led me to weightlifting in a way, because then I started, learning about the fundamental principles of like strength training, all that kind of stuff. And like you'd seen it in the Olympics every once in a while, and you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then once CrossFit started taking off in America, that's when like Olympic weightlifting, almost in a way, was kind of growing as well via CrossFit in a way. And then I think just as you're able to access more things, and so I actually went to do an internship, and the guy there kind of competed and he started teaching me some things. And I was like, this is pretty interesting. I was like, you can become pretty athletic, you can kind of become pretty jacked as well and strong and then still be able to compete. And I like the challenge of it being more like a technical skill, right? Because in snatch and clean and jerk, it's very, very technical and proficient movements. That kind of excited me. And then it was one of those things. It's like, well, if I want to become like really, really good at teaching, the snatch or the clean or the jerk, maybe to like traditional athletes or like field athletes, right? Non like Olympic weightlifters. It's like, well, I probably need to become pretty good at them myself. And so I kind of got into that. And as I trained more, you learned about competing. And then it just kind of fell into place where I did one of my internships at was under a pretty renowned USA coach. He actually has a couple lifters right now that probably, hopefully, as long as things stay true, are going to be in the Olympics in 2024 with Will Fleming. And so Will Fleming kind of took me under his wing, and he taught me all the ins and outs that he knew of programming for Olympic weightlifting, how to teach the movements, how to do them, and how to compete. So from there, I thought I just kind of like picked it up. I was really interested in it. It was a big challenge, or like that new challenge for me at the time. And so I started competing in Olympic weightlifting. And then one day I was like, hey, I want to coach this, right? And so like he started teaching me how to coach it and all that kind of stuff. And then I realized pretty quick, the first meet I ever tried to do where I had to compete and coach at the same time, I was like,
Oh
oh man,
wow.
I am not mentally cut out for this, trying to take care of like 5, 6 other guys in my session and counting for them and then trying to get myself ready. So when that happened, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to focus more on coaching and not so much like competing. I still train in that method as far like, as you all know. But I've considered myself retired from the age of like 25, 26. That's when I started really, really diving into coaching Olympic weightlifting. So I would say it was just by path of what I wanted to study, what I wanted to do in life. And then always kind of being that competitor in me as well, wanted to compete in something. And I just found it really exciting and really interesting and kind of like non-traditional sport, especially here in America.
Yeah,
So
that's a great journey too.
yeah,
And it's cool that
I
you
would
had
say
that.
so.
Yeah. And it's nice that you had someone, someone so great take you under their wing and like show you the way. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you did the competition and had other people like,
Well,
I
believe it or
can't
not, it was
imagine.
my worst competition ever. So
Well, like your mind is not there. Like
yeah, no.
what I've come to notice, like finally getting back into competitions of, and you and I are so opposite, right? I think Matt, and I are so opposite in like our activities, like
Yeah.
very much like power, and I'm I'm on the opposite end of like endurance, like
Yeah. But I
long.
would say that's what makes us a really good team, right? You
I
got
think
Matt, the
so.
strong man, you got me, the athletic weightlifting guy, and then we got you, the fitness and the movement mobility lady. And I think we all kind of mesh well, and then it kind of helps us become more well-rounded as a team, right?
We are a good team.
And
I
then we get to learn
definitely,
from each other, so that's
we
exciting
do.
too.
No, literally, yes. I want to learn so much more from you guys because I'm not like I am a strength and condition. I have my strength and conditioning certification, but like I'm not good at powerlifting. I gravitate towards endurance and mobility stuff and like swimming and biking.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is like for competitions, like your mind has to be right there. Like
Hmm.
I remember listening to like the same song before I did a race, like 20
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and then I think that was like the big issue is like I had the conditioning of like my routine and everything, right? And that's like how I kind of kept my mental sanity during competing, and then how I was able to find like heart rate monitoring and all that kind of stuff is like a big deal these days. And like if I guess you would put a heart rate monitor on me, I knew ways to kind of like control my peaks and valleys of my heart rate and like my adrenaline, right? And using that, how to go into a sympathetic state for a moment, and then come back down in that parasympathetic. And because I had that routine that I would always go through, I knew how to control and address that. And then once it came to where like I was trying to do that, but then I had like all these other variables going into it. It was not working out for me.
Yeah. How did you learn that, by the way? Did you teach yourself or did you have somebody like guide you and to find that routine for yourself?
As far as like my preparation like, for like competition.
Yeah, like learning how to control like your sympathetic and parasympathetic. Like did somebody like teach you how to monitor that?
Yeah, so I would say when I kind of got into competing, I would say like cognitive development. And I think the last couple of years has been a lot more like research and information, and people have been like, you know, the weight room isn't only like weights and movement. There's like the big cognitive side of it as well. And like, especially more people are getting into like yoga or like meditation and like breathing techniques, right? And I want honestly, I would probably say I kind of like understood it without realizing I was understanding it like at the
Yeah.
time. I would just use a lot of breathing techniques, and so like I would practice like I competed. So like even in practice, like the way I would like approach the bar, put my chalk on my hands, play my music, turn the music off, look at the bar, do my routine as I approach the bar was always the same as like I did it in competition. That way it was all very familiar with me, and there wasn't that like external variable that created some kind of situation for myself. And so like I just found a routine that worked for me. I was using breathing techniques. So what I would always do, if you ever watch me train, when I approach the bar, I yell real quick, right? And I think we all know that if you sit here and you go like really quick, like all of a sudden, boom, like you're gonna kind of go in that
Yeah.
fight or flight, right? So you're gonna kind of get that adrenaline and sympathetic dump. And so like I would trigger myself to dump that, and then I would get more focused. You kind of get that tunnel vision and hit the lift. And then I knew how to like kind of bring myself down. It's like once you're stepping off the platform, it's like, okay, we're going deep inhale through the nose, get into the belly, big exhale, just to kind of bring yourself back down. And then like everything I did, like putting my equipment on, chalking, putting the music on, turning it off, always the exact same every single time pretty much. So it's just like a conditioning aspect of that. So I learned how to kind of control it and then condition it as well. So, and I think that's like a real big thing, I think, for even like average gym goers is creating like a routine, right? So
Yeah.
if you can create a routine that's consistent, you develop consistency. And then if you have consistency, you typically build positive and good habits, right? And then it's like, if something becomes part of your routine, no matter how big or small, it's a lot easier to accomplish the task that is, and even like the tasks associated with it as well. So I would practice, right? Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice.
And I feel like it's also like an innate part of being a human, maybe like, learning how to like calm ourselves back down if we don't want to feel that way. I feel
Yeah.
like it kind of is. But I remember learning about it in school, like in strength and conditioning, like learning about like cognitive development, stuff like that. But then like
Yeah.
you learn it in the books, and like this is really everything in college. Like
Yeah.
you learn all these things in the books, and then it's just like for some reason it's totally different when you figure it out on your own. I feel like you kind of figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like even like once you get it, I would, maybe you agree. Like you learn, like once you get out of college, you really start learning and you really start applying and getting out there. You really kind of realize how much in college you learn, but you like there's so much stuff you don't even know. I always tell people I've learned way more since graduating than I did while in school.
Oh yeah. I read the
100%.
whole book. I read the whole book, like strength and conditioning book to like pass the test.
Yeah.
Can I tell you all the norms and numbers and like whatever's now? No.
No. Yep. That's like one of those things you always learn so much stuff, and then you kind of realize like, oh, okay, well, I guess that was important in that time, but I couldn't tell you the last time I really did a whole bunch of stuff with like a Wingate test or a VO2 max test and stuff. But I mean, those things are kind of more important if you go to the clinical side and like the research science side of it. But those of us coaches, we still need to have a thorough understanding of it, and then what that information presents and describes, right? And how to
Yeah.
decipher it and apply it. But yeah, it's like stuff like that. Like if somebody's like, hey, I need you to go set up a Wingate test right now, like, all right, let me get my books back out real quick and refresh my mind on this. All I know about a Wingate test is I don't ever want to do one
Oh gosh. I remember all of those tests, and I had it at 7 a.m. in the morning. I had my
again. Yeah.
prescription lab, and it was terrible. We did like a 12-minute, like when you like incrementally like incline running. I
Yeah.
can't remember what that one was called, but that one was terrible.
Yeah. I was not one to volunteer for those very regularly. No.